TADA! And welcome to Josef's Model Railway and Toy Room. Thank you, as always, for joining me. Just a little bit of housekeeping. You don't need to like, follow, or subscribe. I just put the videos out there where I can and have a holly jolly great time doing so. Now, in today's video, well, we got busy doing a portal over this end. Then we got a little bit sensible, sharing some top tips with you. Now we're going to put all of those great ingredients together and we're going to come over to this side and we're going to sort this tunnel portal over. But this time it's going to be a whole lot different. So let's check out the approach we're going to use in this particular one and see what fun we can get up with today. Right, so before we get started with the project, let's just assess where we're at with it. So here it is. This is the extra module coming out here that is going to basically link us up and bring us onto the coastal scene. So basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to ballast the track, obviously, as necessary. And regarding scenery that happens here, apart from the backdrop, it's going to open up to a coastal thing, but really not much is going to be happening. As you know, we did our stonework over here with our steps, so we'll sort of just create a bit of a blend happening. But this video is talking about the actual portal section to here, and this is just the way I ended up. Why is it cut like this? I don't know. That's just how it ended up. So we've got some options then. So I suppose the easiest thing we do is we can take our stone portal openings from Hornby. And these are quite good. I have no problems with this. I think we're going to use it down the other end. And as mentioned, I'm probably going to rebuild the other portal at the other end because I want it to be more in this type of color. So the process was very much the same. It's just the color I wasn't all that happy with. So look, it's been a pretty simple project to do. I think we might do it. So here's one here. I've made a little rudimentary mark here of where basically this portal needs to start and end, and really that's just working on the complication that the track starts bending, and we really want to try and work in with something that's going to match about here and then go down. Otherwise the scene's getting a bit too unrealistic and we're going to end up with a cliff dropping into what should be a low-lying coastal scene. So we could take the other one here and build it up or match it into the, to be fair, we could just about match it in the countryside and do something like this. Now this isn't actually as bad as it looks, because realistically where your camera angle is, not many people are going to come in and poke their heads over here and look down there. However, am I going to be happy with tidying something like this up? Yeah, probably. Tell you the truth, I don't think it's that bad at all. And maybe what we might do on whatever, we might just leave it like this. However, I think we owe it to ourselves to try and do another one again. As mentioned, I mean, we've got our geometry of what we need, but as mentioned in the previous video regarding portals, is what I want to do, instead of making them to be the smaller type of bricks, I thought we could make it in the slightly bigger cuts so they look like the more sandstone type of blocks as opposed to a brick. Now, is this going to work, or is it going to be a complete and utter disaster? I guess that's what today's episode is all about. I really don't know what I'm going to do at all. I'll stop at that for a minute though. Don't despair, Joseph. I know you really wanted to use these giant sandstone blocks, but you can't stack them on top of each other in a linear way. You need to research. And so I did. And what did we end up with? Mechanically stabilized earth retaining walls. Exactly what I wanted to see and what we see in the civil construction world. What have we got here? It means we can basically create what looks like big bricks stacked on top of each other with no cracking. Again, if we're going for the sort of bonded brick finish where we lay them together, that's not going to work for us. But here you can create whatever your imagination so desires, and that is exactly what I wanted to achieve. And we can use our lovely sort of sandstone finishes. For those that need technical information on how it all works, here you go. I have no idea myself, and this is a model. We don't need to panic. All right, well, let's get cracking. Rudimentary measurements as always. We're going to be using our XPS foam board. Of course, it's not the ideal one I'd like to use. I'm still trying to hunt some out, but it'll do. And we're going to come back and do a video as we hit the chop shop here with this particular hot foam wire cutter, which the more and more I'm using it, it's one of the most imperative tools in the collection, and we'll talk more about it. But let's get what we need done here. We're going to pay attention to make sure you're using a straight edge ruler. Make sure that the edge is 0. Unlike a lot of cheap plastic ones, 0 will start half a centimetre in, and you'll need to take that into account. Now, to create those little gaps in between the brickwork, I'm just taking the steel ruler and just pushing it in and out. Now, this foam from Woodland Scenics is very hard and springy. I don't recommend this at all. It's what I had. And as you can see, push down too hard and you'll actually cut this stuff in half, which isn't quite the effect I wanted. Whoops! Hopefully no one saw that. Not to stress though, pretty much that's the story. You want to try and open it up. Again, in the other high density foams, you can just bend it back nicely with just a blade, and the incisions work well. Think more of the florist foams. Now, we need to seal what we're doing so we can paint it. Once again, it's a 50-50 mix of Mod Podge matte with a black or white acrylic paint, depending on what you need to do. I'm going to use black because that's what was on the last portal, and I still had some mixed up ready to go. Again, when applying it, dip your brush into some water first, then your mixture, and apply it as needed. Well, the black will work in our favor, but as you can see later on, probably would have been better to use a white, but that's okay, we'll carry on. Does seal it nicely. Now, don't forget to do the tops as well. I think I might come back and do a stone top, I don't know. At the moment, just make sure you've got the coverage of where people's eyes are gonna see. Let's get some base color down now. Also, to speed our drying up, like you saw in the previous video, pop it in the oven for 10 or 15 minutes at maybe 35, 40 degrees Celsius. Fan force will certainly speed it up, and away you go. You can keep the process moving as fast as this. Okay, so we're just sort of adding a bit of a base coat. More so, this is to get into where the grout's going to sit and just carry in case some of those little granules of grout don't sit the way we want it to. So we're just going to work back and forth, trying to bring out a bit of a sandstone color. Davco corn silk grout is what we're going to use here. So here we are with our grout. Remember, we're basically taking half a teaspoon of our Davco corn silk, half a teaspoon of plaster of Paris, and then we just brush it into there. We're then going to use the VMS Ballast Freeze. It's got a wonderful capillary action and a great dispenser, and you can use PVA, but this is just a bit easier and quicker. Put it on and it's going to soak in. Let's mix up some different colors now, and using a sponge, we're just going to dab it across. We also are going to do it to add a little more texture to this as well. Again, it's also a good opportunity to blend away any of our grout accordingly, so we've got a bit more of a defined line of what's happened there, hence why we're going to use the sponge. And DCC Concepts yellow clay, we're going to come back and just brush a little bit on. Again, I'm still trying to get a little bit lighter. It's still not quite the way I want it to look. In fact, I'll be honest, the overall end product still isn't quite what I wanted. Those with a better understanding of color mixing will know what I was trying to achieve, but I'm still reasonably happy with the way we are going. So I did take a little bit of our olive drab there just to add a little bit of color. Again, once you apply a little bit of this, just to give you some sort of the moss and mold sort of colors that you would expect to see, just be careful, because adding a little bit of water can cause it to react, and you can kill what you're going for. Again, I'm now just going to take our pastels. To be honest, we're not mucking around here. Let's take a little bit of a yellowy white, and you can see I'm just taking the knife and I'm going to dust it straight onto the model itself. I'll take a little bit of white as well. That seems pretty important. I dare suspect I even took a third color as well and added it. But here we go. We take a makeup brush here and just give it a nice dust around till you're getting a bit more of a color and texture that you're after. Okay, At this point, I've abandoned using the second part. So what I'm doing here is just gluing a little foot to keep the heights consistent. And we're now going to glue one section to the actual portal we made. We're just using the Gorilla Clear glue there. I use a few pins here to create a bit of a clamping effect so it won't move and create an excellent adhesion. That knife at the top is holding the bottom foot there. And of course, we'll leave this overnight, and it is all sitting on our baking paper, so nothing's going to stick. Let us take this away now, take our pins out, and our custom weights that we've been using. Make sure we've got a nice solid bond here. Oh, that looks absolutely fantastic. And what I usually tend to do is come back into key places and just bleed a little bit more in to get more of a bond. As I said, we're going to abandon the other bit and use the Hornby section at the moment, which will become apparent to the end what I got up to there. Now what we're going to have to do here is make a little jig. We've hacked into the foam to create a bit of a V that we're going to slot it into. And I did just texture the edge of that Hornby section in some browns and that, just so it blends a little better. So again, down with our Gorilla Glue, we've created a bit of a template. Again, you can see where the baking paper is used. And we're going to put our glue in to keep that shape where we need it to be, so it's all going to line up, and weight that down with the pin. We just come in on an additional shot here after 24 hours of drying. We're now going to turn it around. We're going to lay it down on a little bit of an angle so we can bead some more Gorilla Glue in. Remember, the Hornby product is that type of ceramic stone, so it's got a lot of weight, so you could see it coming off or snapping off quite easy. Hence why we've recessed it in, and here's our additional bond of Gorilla Glue. At this point, we're going to add just a few of the Woodland Scenics surface stones. I've just sort of stacked them into an interesting arrangement there that's going to work. Weight them down with some more Gorilla Glue, and we're going to let that one dry. Now we've got a module that's quite easy to manage and handle. We're going to take a little drop of PVA. We'll just blob it off to the side here, and then just taking a pop stick or something small, we're just going to decant a little bit and brush it around just the edges of some of the stonework and that. Again, just take your time on this. There's no right or wrong, don't panic too much there. Just adding it to some ends, particularly where you could envision it would be the more shady side. Obviously, I don't know where your sun's going to come up on your layout, but we're going to dust some Woodland Scenics green turf over it. Just give it a nice little dust over there and let it dry, then blow away. Back to our olive drab again. We're taking a very fine brush. We're just going to add a few little key sections of it just into some crevices where you could see that droplets of water would obviously fall and take a little longer to dry up because they're shaded from that particular piece of rock work. Really, the default texture and colors that Woodland Scenics have done for us, in my case, they've done the hard work, and I really appreciate that. We'll take a moment here just to add a little bit of greenery if we can, just to help it blend where all those joins are going to be. And again, we'll also just spend a little bit of time doing the tops of the additional sections of the stonework as well. Quick brush here just to get rid of any of the loose stuff we may have missed there. And we're going to come along and we're just going to use the tip of the pin now to make our way with the PVA and then come along and dust a little bit more on. I did just mix it up, not just with the green. I did use a little bit of a lighter color too, as you can probably see. Again, cross-reference an existing portal, and it's not looking like the end of the world. Well, now I guess it's the moment of truth to see if what we've gotten up to is actually going to work out. So let us get this happening. Again, here is what we've created. It's nice and solid. Of course, there was just a little bit at the top we'll need to do with some bushes, but that's what you're joining me with for now. I won't put that one there just for the minute because we only really need to worry about here. So the whole idea is, again, it actually sits under it, but we'll just shimmy it in like this. Okay. And as you saw in the previous video, this stuff really does make things just seem to be the way they're supposed to be. And there we go. So that looks pretty good to me. And the whole idea is that we've just textured this one up to create what would be an almost seamless link here, where we can take a tree, possibly not this one, but we can put it in and create what we're seeing here. In fact, scale modelscenery.co.uk, as I did talk about in the previous video, and a little goes a long way in our application. We obviously have a deep green and a sage green. And as you can see, I've literally just pushed it in. It's just there. I'm probably going to come back and clean these up a little bit later because I have another idea just to make it look a little more interesting. But I think at the moment, just sitting this tree in place and doing this, I think you can basically see what we're sort of ending up with. And I know it looks a bit hodgy-podgy. Why wouldn't they have built it doing this or doing that? Well, again, it's my model railway. It can be whatever it wants to be. But I really do like that sandstone approach. Maybe we'll redo the sandstone going down on the other side as well. It's just I'm not quite sure how we're creating our segue exactly as we go from one scene to another just yet. So, in the meantime though, that's what we're going to go with. Well, here we are, surging along now, making our way onto the coastal scene. And I really think this actually is a nice way to go about it. It breaks it up nicely. Again, we still haven't sorted a backdrop out, but I really think it adds a little bit of depth and dimension to exactly what's going on. Unlikely we'd be seeing this particular Class 08 shunter zipping around, but I needed something to put there and it was handy, so it is. What are we going to do? Again, the opening down here was always just to access the track feeders if we might need them in the future, but I'm really not too sure. Where's that trail coming when the dirt bike rider or mountain bike riders sweep on down? Maybe it goes somewhere. I don't know. I guess we're just going to have to wait for another day. Now you can probably just see slightly off into the distance, I have actually been busy working on our viaduct at the moment. I've got the ballast down, a little bit of just greenery across the side there, and I've spent some time just doing some work to the footpaths, if you like, or the walkways on either end. Not doing a video about it, I'm just making mention of it now. Again, I sort of want that top all done so we can carry on working underneath. We don't need any debris or nasties falling in when we make our pour. Of course, we're going to clean up the lower section as needed, but I really think we've ended up with a wonderful way to go. Again, that particular foliage matting that we're using here really is good. Like you can see here, I can just take it away. That's it. As I pointed out in the previous Express video about how useful the stuff is, you put it where you need it and away it goes. We'll fix that up later. But you can see how quickly it covers up those little sections that maybe you're not too sure what you're going to do with. But look, I'm really happy with what we've done with this portal. Again, it pops out, everything else moves so we can clean and get to it. That's what it's always been about. Now we're going to carry on around the corner. Again, remember, I actually have already done the scene here. We've done the mountain bit and I've been working on the disused section. So these two bits are sort of going to start to meet up and we're basically working along, remember? We've done our ballasting on the station section and we've got our feature war memorial. So that's really pulling us to halfway. We're completed with this top section. Yes, all right, I don't know what we're doing on this display half, but that's a story for another day. The important thing is, great progress. Thank you, as always, for joining me, girls and boys, ladies and gentlemen, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. And I will just make a quick mention, there are some big surprises coming in the festive season of 2023, so be sure to stay tuned. Stay safe. Doodles.